Hi, I'm Sawyer Hughes, and I will be presenting what my proposed research topic is, which is mental health and stigma according to gender. So what exactly is being studied here is the stigma of mental health in association with gender among undergraduate college students, approximately from the age of 18 to 23. The sample I will have is to be 90 students on DWU's campus, and they'll be divided into three groups of 30 that are half men and half women, so 15 of each. My methodology for this study or experiment would be that students will take a stigma of mental health survey and provide their name and gender to it so that I can later cross-reference it with the 5 different scenarios that I have divided up into scenarios of men, women, and gender-neutral pronouns. So the 5 scenarios will be of men, of women, and gender-neutral. They'll all be the exact same scenarios, like the pronouns switched out. So it goes over bipolar disorder, depression, anorexia, OCD, and anxiety are the 5 different scenarios. And then the 3 groups of 30, so each one will be taking either the men, the women, or the gender neutral. And when they do that, they'll be grading them on how trustworthy they are, how susceptible they are to a mental health disorder, and stuff like that. So that looks at their stigma towards that person, rather than just mental health in a general sense. And the results will then be cross-referenced with their mental health stigma survey answers, and I'll be able to determine, hopefully, if gender is an effect on the stigma of mental health. My hypothesis for this is that men will have a higher stigma towards it, and they'll be also looked at as if they do not need as much help as the women or the gender-neutral pronoun situations that I have, scenarios. And the reason I have for that is the way that our parents have shown us when we grow up as men in general. They always say, like, you fall down and like you cry when you're a kid. They say, get up, be a man. You don't want to do something or you can't do something. They say, be a man, do it. You know, things like that. It's like not an explanation. And they tell you like pretty much to bottle it all up inside and not talk about anything that happens. And also, in general, men deny help more when they have to do a therapeutic thing, such as go to counseling or therapy. Why is this? Why did I pick this? So the proportion of students with a positive PHQ-2 score has increased each year from a low of 24.8% in 2009 to a high of 29.9% in 2016-2017. So they also found that suicidal ideation steadily increased over the past decade as well, from 5.8 to almost doubling in the percentage of 10.8% in 2016-2017. That's from psychiatryonline.org. So the PHQ-2 score, that's what tells you like how bad your mental health is in general, if you should talk to somebody or something like that. And those numbers are astounding how high they are among students. Like that is, like that's over a quarter of them. It's over a quarter of them, like went up. And then the suicidal ideation doubled almost. With the increase in mental health disorders, as shown in the quote, I find it really pressing to address this issue among students because I don't think we take mental health seriously. Everyone just wants to go drink, everyone wants to go party. We want to do things that are just not good coping mechanisms rather than dealing with our stuff head on. And that's because of our stigma towards it. And I also feel like gender is a big factor on our societal view of mental health and the stigma towards it and what we should do according to it. So this past year has been really hard with COVID-19, with being quarantined, having to stay at home, getting kicked off campus, having to do online classes such as this. I'm lucky enough that we get to go in person here at DWU most of the time. But it's been really bad. It's been detrimental for our mental health. And I actually saw a study that they did a little while ago, this summer, that a college did on college students getting displaced off of their campus.
Researchers say the impact of remote learning on college students has been dramatic. Noon tonight, Boston 25's Christine McCarthy breaks down the results of a new study that shows a rise in depression and anxiety.
Students already have higher rates of mental health problems and the life disruption of suddenly relocating, trading independence for moving back in with family, and a feeling of loss have amplified those issues.
If the coronavirus pandemic weren't stressful enough for everyone, being forced to relocate unexpectedly can be especially distressing. It's what many college students have dealt with as COVID-19 began shutting down campuses last March.
the mere fact of needing to move from where you live is something that can affect you mentally.
Dr. Cindy Liu, clinical psychologist at Brigham and Women's Hospital, is one of the researchers who studied the psychological effects of this displacement by surveying nearly 800 students between last April and August.
About a third of the participants in our study were asked to leave campus and to move off of campus, and that those who had to relocate showed higher rates of mental health problems.
Those problems include depression, anxiety, loneliness, and COVID-related worry and grief. A lack of access to social support and mental health resources compound those issues. One major stressor was leaving behind personal belongings.
We think about items that are important to us. It could be things like medication that really have a huge effect on how well we do. We had students who were studying abroad and couldn't get back to campus, and yet their items were removed without them being there.
For many students, a lack of communication from their schools and clarity on when they could return heightened their distress. Liu says the findings published in the Journal of Psychiatric Research should inform colleges of the impact of displacement and the need for ample support.
We hope that there will not be another major outbreak, but that is to be determined. While we do want to mitigate contagion, we also have to acknowledge the mental health consequences of our decisions.
And this is not where the study ends. Researchers will continue to follow students to see what long-term effects this displacement has on them. Christine McCarthy, Boston 25 Tonight.
And that is my presentation. As you can see, it's a very pressing issue among college students, mental health and the stigma towards it, whether you should get help, whether you shouldn't. And I hope that this helps make us get a step in the right way.